Hi, everyone, and welcome to the LatinX Business Podcast. I'm your host, Randy Gomez, and if you're looking to demystify the world of business through the raw, authentic stories of Latinx entrepreneurs, you've come to the right place. As someone with an MBA and an IRS enrolled agent license, I've spent years helping freelancers, partnerships, and S corporations navigate the often tricky waters of the US tax law. Now, I'm bringing that expertise and passion to this community right here. So thank you for tuning in, and you know what? It's time to talk business.
Hola, Minue.
Hola, ahora sí ya.
Sí, ya estamos conectados. Hay que comenzar, ¿no?
Perfecto.
Lo vamos a hacer en inglés. Sorry, I don't know why I'm thinking in Spanish. It's a bilingual problem for people.
No, of course.
No, pero all right, let's start. Let's see. So thank you for coming on the show today. You know, I appreciate your time. I know you're very busy and you have a lot of things going on. So just grateful that you have time to do the recording with us today. But yeah, thank you for coming on.
Thank you. Thank you so much for inviting me. It's a pleasure.
Awesome. So let's do some house cleaning questions. First, what is your preferred pronoun? And then how do you identify within the Latinx community?
I am she, her, and I identify. Well, what do you mean by how I identify with the Latinx community? Like, why do I consider myself Latina?
Yes. So, like, do you consider yourself Chicana, Latina, Mexican American?
Oh,
what do you feel comfortable with calling yourself within the community?
All of the above. No, so Latina is fine, and
Okay.
I am Mexican, so it applies.
Mexican, Latina, and Mexicana, right? At first, and then so yeah, tell me what part is your family from, where your heritage is from, and maybe explain a little bit of that background.
Of course. So my father is Japanese, and my mother was Mexican, and I was born and raised in Mexico City. And people don't believe it. Of course, when they see me, it's like, oh, hay una chinita aquí, parece oriental. Oh my God. Like, oh my God. Yeah. First of all, in English, you don't say oriental, so you can't say that because that's a rug. So I identify myself, Randy, here in the US as Asia-Latina. And it's because when you see me, the Asian ethnicity carries its genealogical information, for 4, 5, 6 generations. So it doesn't matter if we keep mixing with other different ethnicities or backgrounds, we will still have, like black hair, and it's just some of the facial features.
Yeah, Asian features, face features.
That keeps passing on. I do have cousins whose eyes are like almond eyes, but they're green or blue, right? Or straight hair, but it's not black. It's like red hair. So it's a mix at the end of the day, but it's a very strong, what do you say, like a genes pool.
Yeah, it's a strong gene pool, and
yes,
I can see why you identify as an Asian Latina, because that's probably what the first thing people see physically, right?
Exactly. And my name also, right? Minue Yoshida is like, wait a minute, what? It's like, why is your name Minue Yoshida? But you say, but you have a very Latino accent, and I'm like, let me explain this.
Yeah, like let me give you some history breakdown. Yeah, and that's I think that's important too. So many people are being, nowadays, right? Especially in the U.S., we have mixes, but it's happening everywhere in the world. We're all interconnected, and people are traveling. People are not staying in the location where their family's from. People are traveling a lot, and I want to say I met someone recently, and I can't remember who it was, but they basically told me that nobody in their family ever stayed where they were born. Like his whole family and history and lineage, everyone's gotten up and has left the cities they were born. So he just calls himself like a citizen of the world now. So like I'm from everywhere. So yes, I love that you're Latina. I love that you're Asian. I love that you identify with both being Asian and Latina. And I think that's important to highlight too, because just because Mexicans are the highest number of Latinos in the US, especially even in California, right? That is, we're all Mexican, right? Like we come from different backgrounds. So I'm glad to highlight that, and I'm glad that you're extremely proud of it. Okay, so then your dad's from Japan. Tell me, how did he end up in we're in Mexico, no? Mexico City?
Yes, that's right. And just going back for a second on people being born in different places, that's actually the recurring joke here at home, because my son was born in New York and my husband was born in Halifax, Nova Scotia, in Canada. So we always say, like, so in this house we have 3 passports.
That's awesome. You know, like he doesn't have to pay fees when traveling. No, but see that's that even now, like you're right, like so many people, so many races are commingling in, especially here in the US, because we are a nation of different races and ethnicities, right? So I honor that, and I like to highlight that, because you know it's really hard for people to be like, what are you? Oh, okay, you're Asian. You're not. They won't think you're Latina, but you're like, no, I'm Asian Latina. So that's important to honor both backgrounds. Yeah.
Thank you. Yes, absolutely. And so my father's father was always about nature. It was always around nature, and he was pursuing a better life. And my grandfather and my grandmother from my father's side eloped, because they were supposed to marry a different caste, which in those days, I'm talking about the late 1800s. So, sorry, the late 1890 somethings. And they were supposed to marry someone from a different socio-economical level. That's what the stories say. I'm not quite sure if that's true, because it's not really written down in a way that people look for Ancestry.com and find this thing. Is like, no, this is just the story that was told to me
through storytelling, and through generations, of course.
And also, my father tells this story. He just recently launched a documentary of his life and his ancestry called Raíces, or Roots. It was done by a filmmaker. So I'll share that with you as well, so you have the link, because now it's available for the public.
Oh yes. And I'm sorry, I was writing something down, but you said your father or your grandfather?
My grandfather and my grandmother are from Japan.
They
said that they were from Kagoshima. Then my father, was born and raised in Mexico in a Japanese household. So his first language is Japanese.
Okay. Got it. Yeah.
He lived in a Japanese world in the middle of Mexico, because the community was very small. And now it's a bigger community, but the families know each other. At least they knew each other, at least when my father was little. And so then when he was growing up, he studied medicine. And one of the places that he was sent to do his residency is Torreón, Coahuila, which is in the northern part of Mexico, the Mexican
that's
Republic.
in the desert. Yeah, that's in the desert.
And so my mom grew up in Torreón, Coahuila, and so they met there. And so they got married and went to live to Mexico City, which is where I was born in. That's how the whole thing ended. And my father has been in Japan many, many, many times. He used to have family there and all. But he didn't want to live in Japan because he fell in love with the Latino culture as well.
Yeah.
Culture, weather, the way of, it's just everything that he knew, he was just very comfortable with. So, they never had the desire to, let's all move to Japan.
Got it. So you were born in Mexico, and what made you, how did you end up in the US, or at what point in your life do you make the transition over?
Love brought me here. La historia de amor, ¿sabes?
Love,
So,
I love it. Tell us a little bit about your love story.
exactly. So, oh yeah, I'm about to say like I eloped as well, and we repeat the story. And so then I met my husband in Virginia, long time ago, more than 20 something years ago.
Okay.
And it was not, love at first sight, and I was looking for love and blah blah blah. It wasn't like that. It was actually just an accident. I was working and he was there, and we both we both met because we had to go to meetings together over and over, and then there was always a connection, obviously, right? Like it wasn't like he was a complete stranger and suddenly it happened. There was always a connection.
Yeah, of course.
And he has been, the kindest, most interesting person I've ever met. And so when we started talking, it was just fantastic to be with him. And then but we were just working again, so I went back to Mexico. We continued working, and it wasn't until many months that we started a personal conversation. So it was long distance at first, and then it became a, why don't you come here and visit, why don't I go there and visit, and that's what actually happened. So after 2 years of that, then finally we had the opportunity of choosing where we wanted to be. The United States was the best option, because in those days he was going through a wonderful career in the company that we're in, and so it was just the best match at that point.
Okay, yeah. So that's good to hear. Love makes people move borders as well, right? And so that's really nice to hear. Tell me then, so making a little bit of the transition over from your personal story to your business that you run, how did you transition, or how did you decide to become an entrepreneur from, if you're working for this nice corporation that's providing like a good lifestyle, how or when did you make the decision to become your own business owner?
Serendipities of life that comes disguised as layoff. And and in the beginning you think, this is the worst, I can't do this, I'm gonna die.
Yeah.
My company's my world. And rightfully so. I was in corporate years of my life, so that's all I know. I've been in different corporations internationally. I've been in month after month in Latin America. I've been in Brazil and Argentina, and then of course back to Mexico, and then Puerto Rico, which is part of the US. I knew that there was always something. I just didn't know what it was. I just knew that it was that wherever I was never kind of enough. And then
I like that.
I've gone through the experience of, your job was eliminated, and we're going to close this whole division, or we're going to close your whole department, or being kind of forced by the universe to move to somewhere else, which I'm very grateful. It gave me the skill set of adaptability, and I understood quite young, that one thing is to be an employee and another one is to be employable always. And then I took that skill set and then became my own employer. I have to tell you, when I got we're gonna eliminate your job for the last time, there is a point where I had to decide what I wanted to do with my life. I was freaking out, and I said, this is what I know how to do. I know stability. I know how to receive a check, a week-to-week check. I know that, and I don't know how to do the other. But something inside of me said, how about this? How about you finally follow your calling? And yes, with fear, but you do it, which is the definition of bravery, is being afraid but doing it anyway. And I said, I'm going to go for this. And so I took the beautiful severance package and said, I wanted to do my own thing. And this is something that happened after I said to one person that was interviewing me, I said, I owe to myself to be the light for me and for others wherever I want and wherever I can. And so I don't want to be trapped into a single place. I want to be free to do this and choose where I want to be. And I was driving that afternoon after saying that, and called my husband saying, I'm doing this. I'm going on my own. And that's what's happened. And this was 7 years ago.
7 years ago. Oh my God, I'm so
Yes.
happy. So happy you went through that revelation, because I think a lot of entrepreneurs, even myself, like just hearing you say what you just said right now, you're so right. You know, you have these skill set, you go to school, you're educated, you get trained, you become an expert, and you do amazing, right? You do really well at your jobs. And I like that you said that where you were at that moment was never enough. So if there's anything anyone hears from this episode, is if at the moment of where they're at, they feel like there's something more or it's not enough for them, I want them to take that leap. You know, I know it's not easy. It wasn't easy for me either. Sometimes I have heard a lot of stories, people get laid off and it propels them to go on their own, and because you're the one making the connections. You're the one working with the businesses, with the providing the solutions. And at the end of the day, that's your own work that is speaking, that someone would be willing to hire you, right? So no, I'm very happy that happened to you, because, you know, otherwise you wouldn't be here today. And I'm very grateful for that. That I could share your story with my listeners and the people that follow me and stuff. But yes, I feel like I like to know why, you know, because everyone has different reasonings and then everyone has a different story, right? So your story might not look the same as somebody else. So that's why I like highlighting that section. Okay. So when you started Yoshida Academy. Why don't we talk a little bit about your firm so people know what you do and then what other services your firm provides. So maybe you can give a small intro and then we'll go into the different branches of your firm.
Absolutely. And thank you for you know, highlighting your experience as well, and tying it to what I was talking about, because to your point, there's many people that might be listening to this to say, that's exactly how I feel.
Yeah,
right. So it's great just to know, like for you that is listening to this, you're not alone. And it feels in that moment that you are, but guess what? You're not. And there's a lot of us who could help you, who could listen to you, who could give you advice, who could just, you know, be there with you on this new journey. Now, a lot of people say, what is the natural consequence of not having a job? Is it being an entrepreneur? Not necessarily. No. So it's not about becoming a solopreneur or something like that. It's about just finding your voice and your calling. And I've always said, we all have a calling. And whether we want to accept it or not, whether we want to admit that this is a calling that is being there since you're a child, by the way, because we have this all our lives. But the majority of us that live in a society, regardless of your society, that have been listening to people's opinion on your calling, and we allowed other people to tell you what they think of this calling, right? It's like, oh, I've always wanted to do, and then fill in the blank. And then people in the family or friends, oh no, really? So there goes the judgment, and you believe it to be right, and you say like, oh, that's true. It's not right. Okay. Or then people would say, no, mijo, you can't live of that. Why don't you become this other thing? And then you become that other thing because someone in the family told you that you couldn't live of that. Instead of thinking of, okay, wait, where is your happiness and what's your gift? We all have gifts. You're born with them. Entonces son dones, right? And we're ignoring them all the time just because society tells you so. So the idea then is that you actually follow that calling because it's going to chase you. And it's going to find you, and it's going to be there. Yo le llamo la flama interior, you know, it's just like this fire that is inside.
That's good, yeah.
It could be small, it could be big, it no importa, but it's always going to show up. So the question I have for people that are listening today is, when would you finally pay attention to that thing that's calling you? When you're on your 20s, on your 30s, on your 40s, on your 50s? Or are you going to be one of those people that al lecho de muerte, you know, you're about to die and you're 90 somethings or 100, right? In God's will.
Yes,
but you say, I've, you know, and you're gonna die and you say like, I've always wanted to. What do you mean you've always wanted to? It's like, no. So
there's no more time.
Are you gonna listen to it now? You know, it's now. There's nothing to lose. So just obey that, and that's exactly what I did. Back to your question. When we were starting, I started actually acting on the skill sets and the knowledge that I needed for my company way before I started my company. I was in my former company, I was already helping people become their own small business owners. I was already helping people thrive as they were speaking in public, for example, or putting together events and presentations from soup to nuts, so that nothing, was so that everything was aligned and was working. So many of these things I was already doing. And the thing is that I was doing it for someone else, and I was always doing it for people who, first of all, criticized me for my style. You're too bubbly. Oh, you're like super cheerful. Can you bring it down a notch? It's like, why would you need to wear a Wonder Woman t-shirt? That's not professional.
Yeah, especially in the corporate environment.
And to my friend Pavel Martinez, who has a podcast, and he's always talking about, what is to be professional? What are you talking about? I just didn't know this. And so sadly, I allowed the system to dim my light. I allowed the comments to become the norm for me and new regulation. So I did not know this, but I institutionalized myself. The way that I was dressing, the things I was speaking, everything I said needed to go through compliance. So I was, taking care of, oh my God, I shouldn't say this. I should say that. I should be this. I did not notice this until I was like the frog that it's in the boiling water. That is like a very old story. When I realized it was late because I did not even know who I was. So speaking with different people and reading a lot and going through the growing pains, I started finding my voice little by little, and I have to thank many people around me that helped me throughout this process. And they said, listen, you don't fit where you were anyway. So what is it that you do? Right? It's like they were already telling you, no, you're like too much, too intense. And so those things that were criticism, those things that were negative, I made it into positive. And so you were criticizing me and judging me. Guess what? I'm going to use that as my strength. I am passionate. I'm very intense. I'm very intentional. I do things on purpose. So how about this? I'm going to help people find their purpose. That's why I wrote the book Ikigai, Encuentra tu propósito de vida. I'm going to help people find their purpose. So, oh my goodness, you're a very good speaker. You're Latina, but then, you're bilingual, your English is not perfect. Oh, I'm going to take that point of criticism. I'm going to make it my strength. I'm going to teach public speaking. I'm going to teach people that might not feel very comfortable with, the way they speak, or that might be afraid, or that might have a panic attack in front of everybody. I'm going to teach them how to keep their cool and how to be zen in front of others.
Yeah.
So all these
that's
things
what you do,
that I learned. And that's what I do now. Yes. So Yoshida Academy, actually, we have 4 main services. Coaching. So we do one-on-one coaching. We have a lot of C-suites and executives that want to go up the ladder. But we also have a lot of professionals that are just looking to go to that next level or to that next step. We do also group coaching. So the second thing is experiential workshops. So in our workshops, we do this in person with balloons, bandanas, ropes, looks. It's all about an experience. We also do it online. So we do this through Zoom or through any certain way and platform. And we do it experiential. So it's all about, let's use the chat. Let's play a game. Move, stand up. What do you think? We ask people so many questions. They are interacting online. Yeah. And we also do it hybrid. So sometimes, corporations hire us to do programs such as, Netflix hires us to do a leadership program, or Association of Social Workers hired us to do a hybrid continuous education event, or S&P Global hired us 2 years ago to do the Confident Public Speaker program. What we do then is we bring it to life. It doesn't matter if it's online, hybrid, or in person. The third thing that we do in Academy is diversity, equity, and inclusion programs and consulting. Now, sometimes they call us for, hey, it's Black History Month. There goes Angie Ogando, the co-founder of Yoshida Academy and the COO. So there goes Angie, who's an Afro-Latina, and they call her to be a speaker for an event or participate in a panel. Or it's, Women's History Month in our March. Can you guys come and do a whole presentation? Absolutely, yes. A veces es Hispanic Heritage Month. Now, our goal as well is to do consulting, because we believe it shouldn't be a one-off. It should be a whole strategy. And the last service has to do with speaking engagements, and so we are called to be masters of ceremonies, or to be the speakers of a motivational speaker or something like that in different events. Of course, we do coaching on public speaking, and so we have a program called the Confident Public Speaker. We're starting on April the 13th, and so this is what we do in Academy in different languages, by the way. So we do it in English, in Spanish, and Portuguese. If people need to, we have facilitators that can do this in French and Arabic.
Oh, okay. That's good to know. Yeah, because a lot of times, well, you know, the workforces now are so diverse here in the US. And even at one company, you might find yourself with people from all over the world. So yeah, no, that's good to know that you have more than one language available and several. So you said English, Spanish, Portuguese, French,
Arabic,
and Arabic. Okay, so that's 5 different languages that you guys are.
Yes. The ones that we always end up doing is Spanglish, amigo.
No, so yes, I me too. Like I'm talking to you, and I was like, oh, I want to talk in Spanish because, like, I know you'll catch on to it, but I know a lot of our listeners listen in English, so that's why I'm trying to stay in English. But no, by no means. If you speak in Spanish, I'd love it. I was gonna say, okay, so yeah, a follow up to what you guys do as a business. When you're out there providing these services, what would be a way of you guys measuring that service or workshop you provided was successful? Is it something that you can measure with the one session, or is it something that, you know, takes its prolonged success?
Actually, I'm glad you asked that, because guess what? There is a way of knowing if what we're doing is moving the needle or not. And so in terms of coaching, it's tangible and it's palpable. We have an example. One of our clients said, I want to become a general manager, or I want to become the senior director. And so what is the outcome? These people become senior directors after our program, our one-on-one program for coaching, because it's career coaching, life coaching, professional coaching, all in one. And for example, if it's a program, I want to, we're running a program on leadership. We do work with clients on agreeing on the metrics that we will follow. Some of our clients said, I want to decrease my attrition. I don't want people to leave my company. I want them to stay. So we measure that, sometimes is, I want to increase my employee satisfaction. Fantastic. Let's measure that. And I'm glad you asked this, because this is how it should be. Every time that you have someone interacting, it shouldn't be a one transaction thing. It's like, I'm coming and going and everybody goes, yay, it was great. No, it was not about being great. Did this really move the needle? Did this actually make a change? In terms of diversity and inclusion, we do know that some of the companies are looking to increase their pool of diversity, so we can measure that. Or some people say, no, I actually want more engagement of my ERGs, employee resource groups. So we increase the engagement, we increase people's satisfaction and happiness. And at the end, you want employees to be happy to recommend your company and not to leave. Ultimately, at the end of any DEI thing you do, it's related to productivity and growth. When you respond to people's affinity and their affiliation to what you do, when you value their culture, when you are very responsive and let them know how much you care, they produce more and they produce better because they feel loved and respected. That's the idea. All of that can be measured, and we do measure that.
No, that's good. I'm glad to hear that, because I'm sitting here and I'm thinking, okay, if I hire your company and you guys come in, how would I measure that the work you did with our employees or with the firm in general was successful, right? Because I want to make sure that not only am I, you put money down for, it's like an investment, right? But you want to make sure that the outcome is achieved, or that you reach the numbers you want to reach. So okay, so that's good. I'm kind of glad I did ask that. You're right, because there's so many ways you can measure it. It just depends, I guess, on each company and how they want to, what levels of success they want to reach. So it would vary based on project, I guess. There's not like, yeah.
Exactly. And the generic answer is yes, it can be measured, and we do measure.
Awesome. Okay. And so, and the main thing that actually brought us together, right, when your team reached out to me is your new book. It's called Inclusion is a Verb. So let's talk about your book and tell me maybe like the gist of the book, and then what people can get from it, and maybe what sections is, we'll go further into the follow-ups after you give us a couple minutes of what the book is about and what it's going to be used for.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for asking. The book Inclusion is a Verb was born after many, many years of working in the DEI space, DEI as in diversity, equity, and inclusion. And many people are talking about, we're not diverse, there's no other pull. I was like, no, wait. The issue is not diversity. The issue is inclusion. Because there's many people that claim, my company is extremely diverse. I have every single background and ethnicity. And if you can see my people, they all look from different places, and I'm very respectful. Here's the true question. The true question is, does it trickle all the way up? Like, is it going up and down? Is it vertical? Which means you have someone all the way in the C-suite, is your CEO, CFO, CIO, CDO, from another background and culture, or is everybody looking the same? Let's not go very far. There's this huge company, right? And all of them are very similar to this. There's this huge company that, distributes products across the world, right? When you go to their website and you look at their board, and then you look at who the directors are of the whole multi-million company, they all have the same skin color except one person. They're all men except one woman. So that's it. That's it. Right. And I'm like, do you realize that you're representing more than 182 countries where you actually have, inherited in, but there's 195 countries in the world. So it's like, many of the clients that we work with want to be inclusive. However, some of them, unfortunately, are checking the box. This is what this book is about. This book is about, one, realizing and being aware. Am I really being inclusive? Am I just checking the box? Am I perpetuating tokenism? And tokenism is, you, white, a black man, I need you here for my DEI. Yes. Why would you hire a black man or a Chinese woman to be in the DEI because of their background, or is it because of their talents, right? Why wouldn't you hire just a white guy? Because he would not know about this. Are you sure? Because in all these years that I've been in diversity, equity, and inclusion, there is one person that knows much more about everybody, about what DEI truly is. It's a white guy that I know very well, Jason Idolo. And so sometimes people are going to the other side of just hiring because of your color. See, it's like a pendulum, right? We go from all the way to the right of not having anyone to all the way to the left. I'm just hiring you because I have to fill in a number. Oh, you need a woman here. Okay, so I'll hire you just because you're a woman. And I'm a woman, so please don't take me wrong. This is not about gender, color, ethnicity, religion. No. This is about objectivity. Right. And it goes both ways. So being aware of your biases, it's very important. Respecting people's ability, skills, professionalism, strength, that's why you should be hiring people. The reasons why you should be hiring people. We through this book want to shake some foundations. And yes, it might be disturbing. I know that because we have disturbing questions. It's right. Disturbing shouldn't be the word for disturbing questions. It should be more like disruptive. And we're aware of that, because ultimately we want people to grab this book, go to the chapter where we have a DEI scorecard, respond to the questions, and realize from these 50 questions, that should be my 100%. My company, it's only at a 25 or a 35%. And these are questions.
Got it. Okay.
Or maybe not, Maybe you're at 85, but maybe you're 90%. Congratulations, your company is truly inclusive, right?
Yeah.
So, but the importance here is to know, because we do not know. As of today, I don't know of anyone who's measuring DEI, being inclusive in a company. So this is the first scorecard that I've seen. We created it based on very simple questions. An example, every time you have a town hall meeting, if it's online, do you have closed captioning option? And do you have sign language option?
Of course not. And I think it's a legal requirement now, right?
Well, not necessarily. No. No, this is this is a conscious decision of a company. Do you have ramps in your company? Right? Because then you're not considering people in wheelchair. Do you have, so this is accessibility, right? Which we're calling it, one of the categories in this book is called freedom. So at the end, let me go back for a second. At the end, we do provide best practices to help companies and individuals and divisions, it doesn't matter what the size is, to be inclusive. And these are the 5 categories. First is representation. Yes. And representation is your company representing what the market looks like? Because the presentation is about, are you understanding your customers? Are you understanding your clients? The second one, and by the way, representation has also to do with leadership. Because if you have someone in your company, here's the money, go do your event and have fun, but you're not showing up, then what? You're just giving me money to do something that you don't even consider important?
Right. So they could be throwing money at the matter, but they might not be fully engaged and actually practicing what they're saying that they preach, which is being inclusive, right? And being diverse. So let me see. So let me ask you a couple questions. Let me ask you a follow-up question on
let me just finish the other 4 categories. So the second category is education. And this is, are you considering the different educational styles? Do you have training modules in language so that people are not inventing and translating on the go? Are you taking care of people's education and career paths? The third one is support. Are you truly supporting, or are you just pretending to support? And support is, are you giving everyone the same opportunity to grow in your company? Are you grooming everyone regardless of their background and ethnicity? And then the fourth one is impact. And impact is, are you actually measuring? Is one of your key success metrics part of moving the needle through diversity, equity, and inclusion? And the last one is freedom. And this freedom goes in 2 ways. One is accessibility, which is what I just mentioned. And the other one is, are people free to speak? Do people have freedom of speech? Freedom of movement, freedom of affiliation? Are people free and happy? So those are the 5 categories. Sorry that I interrupted.
No, that's okay. No, because we're going to come back to the categories, but can you remind me what the first one is? The first category?
Representation.
Physical representation. Okay, so that works, because that was going to be my follow-up question. So physical representation. So I know that obviously, having people of different race and ethnicities in a boardroom or in the conference room, right? It's important, because there's a diversity of ideas and networking and all the conversations that happen while you're in those rooms. So what would you say to someone that says, for example, like, they're just checking off of the box, like you said, they're just hiring women? What if someone comes up to you and be like, we need people who are actually competent in that position to take that role on? Like, how do you, with your firm, like, how do you combat that? Like, how do you address that question? Like, is that person, even though she's a woman, is she competent enough? I could see how someone could retaliate against you when you say that you need to have physical representation of other people.
So here's the thing. I'm glad you asked this. I've never heard that. And like, no, nobody has that question before. But I would say something like, what is the purpose of this position or this job? So let's talk about what in HR we're calling talents or competencies. So what type of competencies are you looking for? What type of outcome are you looking for? What type of skill set, knowledge, experience this person needs to have? And we begin from
Right.
there, not from the point of should it be a man, woman, binary. Like, that's not the point. It doesn't really matter, because we're not trying to match a job for a person, but a person to a job. And here is one of the things that people have always said is, well, I wish I could hire, a more diverse, I wish I could hire have a more diverse workforce, but I don't know where to hire them because I don't have a pipeline. And we always go back to, how about we take a look at, where are you looking? So what we do is this: let's trace a strategy to go back to, where are you looking? What are you looking? How are you inviting people to come to an interview, right? Because it has to even do with how you ask the questions. There are things you cannot ask and you should not ask. Some of them are by law, and some of them is just because it's right.
Right.
And then, how are you bringing them on board? Because let me tell you something that is happening right now. Are diverse come to an environment that is not welcoming to diversity. So instead of bringing someone, creating this atmosphere where they can thrive, they put them in atmospheres where they are literally suffering and tortured. And it was not ready for them. So I would go back and say, are you ready to have this person on board? Let's create the ecosystem and the infrastructure to support this person that is diverse. And so it has nothing to do with who the person is in the back end in terms of, again, age or ethnicity or anything like that. It has to do with, what are the needs of this person for this person to thrive, because that's equity. And let me tell you just something very simple. If this person is blind or can't see well, there is software that would be speaking or would be transcribing what's written so that this person can listen to that. There's also software for people that have a very hard time, looking at, staring at a screen or reading, that amplifies, the content and makes it really, really big. I've seen that, and it's fantastic. But is your company providing it, right? And so that's creating an ecosystem. We talk a lot about, working parents. Are you giving them the facilities so that they could, continue being working parents instead of being hiding somewhere,
Right.
And then there's invisible disabilities. Are you actually pursuing and are you ready to know what to do if someone is depressive or have post-traumatic stress syndrome? Or so there's so many things, but we need to be ready as well. So there's a whole ecosystem around that.
Yeah, and I see how, if you answer the 50 questions as a business owner, or your executives, your HR or whoever is going to be running the program, then those questions lead into these categories that actually support these 5 categories: representation, language, support, impact, and freedom. Support the ecosystem that you're talking about that will allow a diverse board to be created at your company, right? So that I'm just making sense of it, because I think it's important. I think so many people think a lot of these or diversity and inclusion issues are just very black and white, you just need a person of color in there, but it's important for them to have the support. What if it's the language, even just having somebody else that's also, from your culture or your background, it makes it that, maybe 10 times higher that you'll be able to stay there and want to continue. Because if I walk into a room, and I walked into so many rooms since I entered college where I was the only Latino in the room, right? And immediately, it's not that I don't feel confident or that I don't know the material that I am going to address at the moment. It is that immediately the physical presence is that I am the only brown person sitting in a sea of all blonde hair, blue eyes people, right? And it's
Yes.
it's just a shock. It's a physical and mental shock. So maybe even though I'm really good at what I do, that might affect my presentation at the moment. And then then that rolls into we don't know if that person is good enough for this position, right? When in reality, this person is more than qualified. So I just wanted to make sure that we highlight that, those 50 questions will lead into the percentage that your business is either inclusive or not, right? Or diverse. And then these 5 categories, like you said, the best practices that you offer. So I could also see how your company goes into a company, addresses these questions, and then creates a strategy based on the questions and then these categories of best practices, because that's truly how you would get a company to be in that arena of being diverse and inclusive.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
And yeah,
Mhm.
yeah. So. No,
Yeah.
I love that. I love that. And there's so many companies out there. Like, I'll be really honest. Like, I've also worked at companies where it was owned by a Latino and it started really small and then it's huge now. But it's like all the workers you would say are like 80% Latinos or Mexican American, right? So it's like, even that, like how much diversity is there in there as well? I just feel like at the end of the day, it could go both ways, just like you said, right? It's not just a one-way street or a one solution fits all, because one company might have really good support. And I can even see opposition to that. Like, what if an employee's like, well, I'm okay. Like, I'm really happy in my position and I don't want to move up to the next one. So why are you making me go through this program? So I've heard so
I have
many.
an answer for that, right? And I have an
Yeah,
answer, and the answer is very simple, because it's not about you, because it's about everyone else around you, because it's about people that won't speak or can't speak, and mostly for those who cannot speak because they're afraid. So it's not just you. I'm glad you're happy, but
right.
it's quite selfish to say, yo estoy bien. I mean, I'm fine, and I don't care about the rest. Well, good for you, but how about things that you have not even noticed? I was just talking to a person not long ago, and he was telling us, I'm super happy. I've never experienced discrimination and this and that. Well, a week before that, we spoke to someone that was actually complaining, but she was a woman and he was unaware of this. And he said, oh, I didn't know that my coworker or my colleague was going through this, because she was feeling something different. And so I would actually question this person and say, I'm glad you're happy. Are you sure that your colleagues are happy? Can you do something for them? Can you represent? Okay, good that you have a great stand with your boss and the boss of your boss. Can you speak on behalf of others? Or and here's another question. I'm glad that you're doing great in your company and that you don't feel this. How about you share with the world? How did you accomplish this? Because maybe you have found the wisdom that the rest of us are looking for. Share this. Write a book. Write an article.
Share the information.
Go to
Yeah.
LinkedIn. Create a video. Go to TikTok. Something. But then share your blessings. Because if it's only me, myself, and I, then what is the point of living as a community and a society where everyone is just looking for their individual interests? It makes no sense. And to your point, you go to a place where you are the only one, because it has happened to me, where it's like the diversity was me, no, the only woman or the only
and of course, yeah.
And but here's the thing, that now we have names for things. Now we have categories for things, right? I didn't know 20 years ago what a microaggression was. So
such a new term. Yes.
So people were rolling their eyes when I was speaking, or they would go like, oh, I clearly remember we were in a meeting and everybody was talking about, we should do this, we should do that, we should do this, we should do that. I raised my hand and I said, excuse me, could we also consider in this plan our internal employees that are Spanish speaking? And two of my coworkers said, oh, here we go again with your thing.
Right.
Well, you didn't have a name right then and there, but if this happened right now, I was raise my hand and say, excuse me, right? And so that's the thing. There are very small things that didn't used to have a name. They have a name today. The question is, and actually is one of the questions of my questionnaire is, are microaggressions and workplace bullying, because there's bullying. Bullying is not just for high school. This happens in the companies. Are these investigated and addressed immediately by the appropriate departments? Or is your boss telling you, ya tú sabes cómo es este señor, Like, I've been told that. I complain about aggressions, macroaggressions and micro. And the answers were, you know how this guy is. What?
Oh, wow.
What, wow. Right? It's like, no. This guy is actually harassing another woman. And he holds it without her permission. And he kissed another person in the neck. that is completely unprofessional. It's against the law, like, you know, and
Yeah,
was
physical
out of,
harassment and verbal harassment.
right, that's sexual harassment, actually, right? And
Exactly,
you know
yes.
what, the answer of my boss was, you know how he gets when he drinks,
Oh wow, yeah. That
right?
would not fly. That's not gonna fly anymore. I think you're right. We and you know, I'm glad you said you had an answer to that question, you know, that I just asked because, you know, we are, I think, all interconnected, right?
Mhm.
And when we don't think of other people, that's when the work lag, or that's when we do the bare minimum, or that's when we're like, you know, I just need to do this to get by for today. But in the
Absolutely.
longer go, you know, in the macro point of view, like it's a lot of little things that add up, right? And so I'm glad that you actually have, you know, I'm excited. I was like, oh, I wish I could sit down in one of these for you and to help create the strategy, because that sounds like a lot of fun, actually.
It's a lot of fun. Yes, yes, yes,
Yeah.
yes.
And then it sounds like a lot of work. También, you know, but that is
Yeah.
what it's going to take. A lot of work, a lot of hard questions, a lot of sitting down and just sitting with uncomfortableness. And
Oh yeah.
yeah, I can definitely see that. So I'm so happy you wrote this book, because you know more companies need to get their hands on it, or HR departments or C executives need to read it and answer these questions, and then they should really be calling your company to go in and do the workshops.
Yes,
Right?
yes, yes, yes. Of course, we've done it, and it's really really fun.
Yeah.
And we see the change, and we see people. You know, your employees feel heard. So it's the utmost. One of the biggest signs of respect is to listen, right? And so when we are brought to companies and we're talking about
Hmm.
this, and we're calling the cat, which is something that we always use, right? We're not going around the terms and trying to be just careful and being politically correct with every single tiny thing. Let's call the cat, you know, and a microaggression is called microaggression, a harassment is called harassment. Let's not pretend. Now we do hold our workshops in a positive light, right? It's
Right.
not
Right.
it's not
Right.
therapy venting sessions where people are just complaining, and no. We redirect anything that is said, first of all,
Uh-huh.
in a confidential way, where we respect privacy and confidentiality, but we're very professional, and we bring it back to, okay, with what we've discovered, what are we going to do to improve? We turned everything into a positive thing and a call to action. And action is the reason why we wrote the book Inclusion is a Verb. We do something about that, because we can all improve. You know, that at the end of the day, companies should feel that there is a light at the end of this tunnel, and that
Hmm.
and that the light is in their hands. That's the idea.
That's the idea. Okay. No, thank you so much for talking about the book. So again, the book is called Inclusion is a Verb by Minue Yoshida, and it's your company, Yoshida Academy, is the one that has really created the infrastructure and the background of the book. So thank you. And I applaud you, definitely. So we've reached the last three questions, and in maybe two sentences or less, answer these questions as fast as you can. And I won't have any follow-up to do with it. But yes, what is the greatest lesson you've learned in the past year?
The greatest lesson in the past year has been to move from victim to victorious, to move from somebody told me, somebody did this to me, the world is this, it's the other, it's not the other, it's you. It wasn't them, it was me. We have to move from relying the responsibility of the outcome of our actions to any circumstance. That is the biggest lesson, is owning the decisions that I've made, and from there, from being the victim of I suffer to
Mhm.
what am I going to do with this, and then writing down 3 actions for every single thing that I didn't like, that I want to change right now in the present time. So the here and the now, owning my part and my responsibility, and then writing 3 actions, and they come together with how am I going to do this, because nobody is intended to be successful on their own. We say this, that's the reason why people hired us for coaching, because we say you should not be going through all this stuff on your own. Look for help. And help could come in the form and shape of many things. Of course, coaching, that's what we do. However, a great podcast like yours, right? A good book or a YouTube or something, but don't go on your own.
Got it. That's really good. And question number 2, what can businesses do today to be truly inclusive and diverse?
Oh, fantastic. First of all, buy the book. And so they can go through everything.
Yes, I like
Identify
that.
what's lacking. No, in all truthfulness, understand where is it that inclusiveness or to be, diverse is not showing. Where is it? Because sometimes leaders of a place would say, oh no, we're extremely diverse. But when you talk to different levels, you realize there's a disconnection. So the first thing I would say is identify the disconnection, identify the gaps, because you cannot fix what you cannot see. And first you need to see, where is it that you're not being as inclusive as you could and should. Then the second one is, again, take action. So let's say, oh, I didn't think about this. Okay, so what would you like to do? And have a meeting with your team. It doesn't matter if your team is comprised of 3 people or 300 or 3,000 or 30,000. Gather all of these people, because wisdom also comes in numbers, right? So put the problem with vulnerability. Be vulnerable. Hey guys, we're having this issue. Hey, I've noticed this. And then ask the question, what can we do? And listen to the people, and they will come up with incredible ideas, and then make them happen. And be accountable for them. Put a date and time into this. I'll give you an example. We suggest that everyone in every company has as mandatory, not voluntary, mandatory, uncovering unconscious bias training. Or how about what harassment is? But it's so everybody goes through that, right? And then have conversations after that. It could be, like tertulias, like the chats afterwards. It could be a fun activity where people apply what you just said. It's a matter of having a program as well. So that would be like the third part of this answer. Don't do one-offs. That is just trying to put a band-aid. It does not fix absolutely anything. Create a strategic, intelligent, long-lasting program. What are you doing from January to December? And create a calendar. If you don't have a DEI office or an office of diversity, equity, and inclusion, then rely on human resources and your learning and development department, and they can actually help. But don't do one-offs, because that's just checking the box. That's the most disrespectful thing that we can do for individuals is, okay, so Hispanic Heritage Month, let's make a party y traemos maracas y guacamole. That's not going to change anything.
And calling a day, we're done with the inclusion.
Exactly. I tengo dinero para tu fiesta, have fun. No, I don't want a fiesta. Sí. You know what I want? I want opportunities for growth. I want you, employer, to pay for my ticket to go to this seminar or conference that speaks about how can I grow in my work. Like, I want you to give me the opportunity. Es más, I want you to pay for a coaching program, because we do have a lot of clients that go through our one-on-one coaching, our private coaching. And we ask them, is your company paying for this? And they say, no, they don't support me on this. You know what I mean? So don't tell me I support your growth. But then when I ask you, hey, can you give me the money for this? They say, no, we don't have money for that. Or some of them have to do it off time, off the hours of working hours, because their employer do not want them to go through training during working hours. So excuse me, are you telling me that my own growth, my own well-being is not part of what I'm doing here at my work? ¿Sabes? Because a lot of DEI events, como that, Hispanic Heritage Month or Black History Month or Women's Month or Pride, there's a Pride parade. But make sure that it's after hours. See, that's so disrespectful. Entonces, what we need to do then as a company, again, it doesn't matter what size you have, is first to be aware. Second, to create a plan that is built in a team with everyone's input, because that's already been inclusive, right? And then third is creating the mechanism to make it happen, evaluate, give continuation to that, and circle back and say, did it work? How was it? Ask for feedback, demand feedback, and then circle back to planning again.
Okay. And then let me ask you the last question. And what piece of advice would you give future generations of Latinx children who are looking to become aspiring entrepreneurs?
The first thing, you've got to spend the time, the effort to know yourself. I know it sounds cliched, so I'm going to make it mundane for everybody.
Yeah. That's the first. I haven't heard that. Yeah.
Grab a notebook and start with I am, and then write what are my strengths, and then write what do I like about myself, and what am I very good at. Right? It's part of the things that we do with our clients, where we sit down and we go through their ikigai, and ikigai is your purpose of life, and we start with, how do you want to be considered for another position? When I ask you, tell me your 5 strengths, go, bam, bam, bam. You know that I asked that question. A ver, Randy, your 5 strengths, and people go with, well, I think that you don't know them. You don't know what you're extremely good at. Or if I say, Randy, what are, another question to ask in your very private and beautiful notebook that you have, what are the 5 things that you want to work on? Oh, boom, 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 boom. Fantastic. What are you going to do about that? What is your plan to make it happen? Because the second thing, after knowing yourself, is ownership. Own that. This cliche of you are the writer of your destiny, and okay, so let me make it mundane as well. That means, oh, I've never been considered for this position, so I suffer and I'm the victim. Stop that. What do you need to be considered for that position? Do you know? Oh, well, maybe no. Do you know? Because if you don't know, then your next step, figure it out. And once you figure out and say, oh, I know now, I need to be certified on this, get this license, learn this language, whatever that is, make a list. Because the next step is make it happen. Make it happen. Ownership means, what am I going to do to improve as a human, as an individual? You want the opportunity, you fight for the opportunity. You behave like that you want, and then you make it happen. The next one would be, I have 4 ideas that come to mind just right now. The next one would be, you've got to be very proud of your heritage. Proud, if you're bilingual, Dios mío, qué maravilla, bendición.
Sí.
Proud, you should be proud of that. You should be asking for more money, right? Be proud of the sacrifice that your parents and your great-grandparents have done, regardless of where you're coming from, regardless if you came to this country by force or free to come or hiding. It doesn't really matter. What matters is, what are you going to do today, in this exact moment, with what you have, to honor whatever pain and sacrifice somebody before you have gone through, because you need to honor that and be grateful about that. Be very proud of the body that you have right now, your hair, your skin, your preference, your interest, your feelings. Stop hiding. People want to see, people want to hear you, the true you, your authentic you. Show it. And if you have resistance, show it more. And so be proud of that. And the last one is to be brave. And bravery, I said it before, it's about doing it despite the fact that you're afraid.
Of course, yeah.
Because without this last one, nothing is done. And that's why people don't speak up. Porque nos da miedo, What are you afraid of? What, losing your job? Look for another one. Losing your loved one? Then that person doesn't love you. Losing your what? What's your fear, So go for it. Just literally go for it. That would be my advice.
Oh my God. Minue, I feel like we did a business / therapy session right now, me and you. But I've loved every minute of it. Sad that it's coming to an end. I'm very happy that you are on the show, and hopefully we can inspire many generations to come and individuals as well that might be struggling. But you know what? You are right. You said it earlier. It's tough to be an entrepreneur. You got to do things that you're uncomfortable with, but also we're not alone, right? So that is one of my biggest reasons for starting this podcast, because I feel like so many people that start their own businesses feel isolated or feel like they don't have a family that started businesses before them. So there's no guidance. There's a lot of us out there. There's a lot of Latinos and Latinas out there working hard every day, building companies, building livelihoods for other folks to come and be employees and have a proud workplace where they walk into, right? But no, I applaud you, and I'm definitely going to recommend your book to every company that I come across. I think that they should buy it and then answer the questions and then call yours. And also, I'll have all your information in the podcast notes. So if anyone wants to reach out to you, like I'll put like your company website, your email, and your social media hashtags. But yes, that's pretty much it. But again, thank you so much for coming on. I appreciate your time today.
Thank you so much, and blessings and the best for everyone in your audience, and to you as well. Thank you very much.
Oh, thank you. Have a good day. Bye.
Thank you too. Bye.
Okay, adios.
Thank you so much for joining me on this episode. Please take a moment to subscribe, rate, and share this podcast with your network. Your support helps our LatinX business community grow stronger with every listen, and I truly invite you to connect with us. Send us your questions, your comments, or even your own business stories to randy@rgtaxes.com. I would love to hear from you. Until next time, keep learning, keep building your business, and keep growing your business mindset.